So yesterday, the Legends of Runeterra team spoiled a bunch of Ionia cards from the upcoming Call of the Mountain set that's scheduled to release on August 26th. And as expected, today we got a new champion revealed, and it's Lulu. Along with Lulu, there were some more Ionia cards revealed as well. In this video, we'll be talking about Lulu and the other cards that were spoiled today, and as always, I'll be giving some additional thoughts on the cards revealed and what decks or strategies they could possibly fit in. Before we jump in, if you like this type of content and want to see more, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future coverage from me. Really quick, I did mention that we did get some Ionia cards revealed to us yesterday, and I've already done a video covering those spoilers. Feel free to check out that video if you're curious on what I think of those. Link will be in the top right corner of this video. But let's jump into it and start off with Lulu. Lulu is a 3 mana 2/3 with support. My supported ally grows up to 4 for this round, and her level up requirement is that our allies have been supported 3 or more times. When she does level up, she is a 3/4, and at the start of the round, you create a fleeting help picks in hand. And she keeps her support ability, although this time the supported ally grows up to a 5/5 this round. So her level 1 is a little understated for a 3 mana unit that's a champion, but what's nice is that she seems like she's going to be really easy to level up, given what the theme of this next set has been so far with the cards that have already been revealed. The support mechanic is getting a lot more support in this new set. I know I keep using that joke, but it's just so easy to do, so I'm probably going to keep doing it if we keep getting more support spoilers. Anyway, part of what makes her so easy to level up is that she doesn't have to be in play to level up. You just need to support 3 units at any given point, and Lulu will flip, even if you haven't drawn her yet. Her support ability is also pretty good. It's basically like playing a suit up from Piltover and Zon, except the 4/4 stat line is only temporary. At first, to me, it seemed like Lulu had to be in a deck that heavily focuses on support units, but the reveal video did show that her ability is very good on smaller challenger units like Fleet Feather Tracker to make them big enough to kill bigger units you're having problems with. And you might even be able to outsize those units and keep your challenger alive. So between going the challenger route and having access to other cards like War Chefs, Lulu seems excellent with Demacia in general. But I wouldn't be surprised if she worked well in Targon either. I could even see Lulu working in Shadow Isles with something like Blighted Caretaker to buff the saplings to challenge bigger units. Although since they're ephemeral, they die regardless. Her level 2 gets quite a bit stronger, making the unit you support a 5/5 instead, and she generates a help picks card. Speaking of which, we need to talk about this card since it goes hand in hand with Lulu. So Help Picks is a 1 mana burst spell that's fleeting. You give an ally barrier or an enemy vulnerable this round. This can't be cast in combat or in response to a spell. So it looks like this card is going to be part of a cycle of 1 mana burst spells we'll be getting in this set that can't be cast in combat or in response to any other spell. For those that remember the first Targon spoilers, a card called Gem was revealed that works just like this card does, except it heals one of your allies by 1 health and grants them +1 power permanently. One thing I didn't realize after reviewing those cards is that Gem doesn't have a rarity symbol on it, meaning you can't run the card itself in any deck. You have to generate the card through other cards, and some of those were also spoiled on the same day that Gem was. And this card doesn't have a rarity symbol either, so there's no way to actually run this as a standalone card in your deck. Anyway, I think this card is way better than Gem, but that's going to depend on whether or not cards can generate this card aside from Lulu, or whether or not Lulu is going to end up being good enough to see a lot of play. While not being able to play this during combat or in response to a spell does hold it back a bit, we need to keep in mind that this is still better than a slow speed spell that has the same effect. You're able to get another action immediately after casting this, and that's particularly useful if you want to give an enemy vulnerable and then go into combat immediately afterwards. Barrier, not so much, since you want to be able to respond to your opponent's cards with barrier, ideally, and you can't do that with this card. But it is good at protecting Lulu after she levels up. Ionia gaining access to Vulnerable, something they didn't have before, is also amazing, similar to when they gained access to Challenger through Sonic Wave last set. Next, let's talk about Lulu's Whimsy, or rather, just Whimsy. This is a 4-mana burst spell that transforms a follower into a 1/1 squirrel and silences it this round. In the case of the champion spell, you'll shuffle a Lulu into your deck. So as you can see, the squirrel token is on the right hand side of this graphic to the left of Pix, who we'll be talking about in a bit. The squirrel doesn't have a rarity symbol either, so the only way to play it is through cards like Whimsy and maybe anything else that gets spoiled. On its own, I think this card is a bit expensive for what it does. You can definitely blow out opponents with it during combat to eliminate certain blockers, as we saw in the spoiler video today. But as a standalone card, I don't think it's quite strong enough to run in decks over other options we have already, especially since the effect only lasts for 1 round. Granted, if this was permanent, this would be way too good. But yeah, I think the only deck we'll see this played in is Lulu decks as her champion spell, which is fine. This card works very well with Lulu and what she wants to be doing. The only other deck I could maybe see this working in is a Demacia deck that heavily focuses on Challenger, but wants to splash this card in. So something like Bannerman, maybe with Shen as well. So a variant of the barrier mid-range deck that we did start seeing after patch 1.6 went live. Next we have Pix, a 1-mana 0/1 with the support ability, give my supported ally +2/+1 this round. This art is amazing. I love Pix. It's unfortunate that I don't love this card. The support units that can't do damage themselves in combat are really bad on their own, meaning you need to have a way of buffing Pix for this to be worth it, whether that's through another support unit or through other effects like pump spells. And usually if you need to run other cards in order to make another card good, it means you shouldn't be running that other card and your deck would be better without it. I could maybe see Pix working in a really focused support deck, but again, that's a big stretch, and there's probably going to be some other card you could play instead that will make your support deck better. Next we have Fey Guide. This is a 4-mana 3/3. When you play it, you grant an ally elusive. Scratch everything that I said yesterday about Swole Squirrel being the new go-to 4-drop for Ionia. This is actually the new 4-drop that Ionia decks can go to if they need one. As I mentioned yesterday, Ionia doesn't have many options for 4-mana units that are just good on their own. The good ones, like Yasuo and Kinko Wayfinder, are for very specific decks only, and they don't really work outside of their specialized deck. Just flat out giving another unit elusive is very powerful, even more powerful than what Swole Squirrel can offer despite having slightly higher stats, especially because the elusive is permanent, which is insane. This will probably end up in Lulu decks because you can grant Lulu elusive and keep her safe that way while she levels up. But I'm pretty sure most Ionia decks will be considering this card anyway, with the exception of Yasuo decks and decks like Kinko elusives. In fact, it's even possible that this card may completely change how Kinko elusives is built, opting not to go with Wayfinder at all. That would free the deck up to run more cards from other regions. I could definitely see that happening. And finally, we have Startled Stomper. This is a 2-mana 2/3 with Overwhelm. The one card spoiled today that isn't from Ionia, but from Targon. This is another card that I believe is a payoff card for support decks, similar to the Tasty Faithful card that was spoiled yesterday. I do think this card is a little better. It's only 2 mana with a useful ability in Overwhelm if you have the right support cards to back it up. Even more importantly, it has that all-important 2/3 stat line that a lot of the best 2-mana units in the game have. We're talking War Chefs, Elise, Hired Gun, and even Crimson Disciple, who dominated the meta before she was eventually nerfed. But that doesn't mean you go off and run this in every Ionia deck. There isn't much else this card has to offer beyond its 2/3 stats. This is still going to be specific to Ionia support decks, I feel, but it will be very good in those. That'll also depend on whether or not Young Witch, another card spoiled yesterday, will be too much competition for this or not. It may come down to a meta call, meaning if Young Witch dies too easily to a lot of different meta decks, for example, this could come in to take her spot instead. This is all assuming Ionia and Targon do get played together, of course. And that is all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, as it really helps me out and gets this video out there to others in the community. If you don't want to miss future coverage of the new set from me, subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell below to make sure you know when the next video goes live. Feel free to check out the other Legends of Runeterra content I have on this channel, or even check out the other places you can find me on the internet in the video description below. You'll find my Twitter, Twitch channel, and we have a community Discord as well that you can join. Thanks for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you next time. Take care.